The Rams have many options to make us forget last week's stinker. Justin Herbert and Amari and Hampton may as well pencil them in for Monday Night Football. And multiple forward players trashed the Clippers for cutting Chris Paul. Good morning. I'm James. And this is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is December 7th, 2025. Welcome back to Ice Station Alpha in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, but in this hotel, the meth is on and popping. We added new subscribers. Thank you. We'll do our best to keep you informed. And it's also Sunday, the Lord's Day. If you believe as I do, take a moment and thank Him for the blessings in life, like LA sports. And if you like being in the know about LA, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop an update. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. And by all means, comment. Now, a quick look at the scoreboard before we get to the Rams preview. Mini Scrotum 109, Clippers 106. The Kings blasted Chicago 6-0. UCLA basketball 74, Oregon 63, and Washington handed USC basketball the first loss of the year, 84-76. The Trojans blew an 18-point lead in the process. So, yeah, that thing about them being a top 25 team, that's not going to be happening on Monday. So with that out of the way, as for today, the Rams are at Arizona at 125. Now, this is what concerns me about the game. It's not the Cardinals. Hell no, it ain't a 3-9 Cardinals. It's that the Rams are playing back-to-back games on the road. That makes this automatically a trap game. Teams fall flat often during that second road game. Thing is, it sure looked like the Rams face planted in their loss to Carolina. So, for us to continue to buy in to the Rams as a Super Bowl contender, they have to come out focused, put their foot on Arizona's neck, and crack. The Cards are clearly overmatched. They don't even have Kyler Murray to kick around today. Career backup Jacoby Brissett is under center. So, this is actually a game that's all about the quarterback matchup. Why? Because Arizona is decent against the run. They've only allowed one 100-yard rusher this year. It doesn't mean that they're going to totally stuff Kyren Williams, but yeah, dominate? Maybe he wouldn't. Moreover, when the Cardinals get the ball, they only have one legit receiving threat, tight end Trey McBride, because Marvin Harrison is out. So, you have the Cardinals with limited passing options. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford has about 4 or 5 receiving threats, and he doesn't necessarily have to count on a run game. Sean McVay is going to look at Stafford versus Brissett and say, why do I have to overthink this? Put the ball in Stafford's hands. He's going to want to redeem himself after that stinker last week. So I think last week the Rams were reminded that when they poop, it stinks. You should always be reminded that your poop does stink. And I think the Rams are going to come out and just whip up on Arizona today. Also, the Lakers are at Philadelphia at 4:30. So what do you say we get to the news? The Chargers are going to be about as full strength as they could possibly get from Monday Night Football. Justin Herbert, who had surgery Monday to repair a fracture in his non-throwing hand, is listed as questionable. Now, I'm not a gambling degenerate, but the injury report is for gambling degenerates. And questionable means, he's playing. We just can't admit it. He's a little dinged up. He's hurt. He's in pain. He's going to want to play. We're going to put him in. Also, running back Amari and Hampton is the same. Questionable against the Eagles. Hampton has missed a massive chunk of his rookie season. He's been out since week 5 with what turned out to be a broken left ankle. Now, again, questionable. It raises the drama, which, of course, a sport that wants eyeballs as much as the NFL, they want drama. But they're playing. And I can't say I blame Herbert. I can't say I blame Hampton. And I damn sure can't blame the Chargers. We've been talking about this for weeks. Thanks to injuries to the offensive tackles and neglect on the interior offensive line, the Bolts skill players are going to have to do uncommon things in order to push this team past the finish line and into the playoffs. They need to do that at least twice more in 4 games to go in the regular season to get double-digit wins. The schedule ain't helping them that much. So yeah, they have to force the issue. Just because they like Trey Lance as a backup quarterback, the guy was once a number 3 overall pick, they need Justin Herbert. It's common sense. Kamani Vidal, he's been a hero for the Chargers. He wasn't even on the regular roster at the beginning of the year. He wound up rushing for 100 yards in 3 games while the Chargers didn't have Hampton. But they need Hampton. The dude led all rookies in yards from scrimmage when he was injured. The Chargers, unfortunately, know damn well that they have to ride with what they got. Their very playoff hopes depend on it. There is a whispering campaign that's been building about Chris Paul's ouster from the Clippers. Players who haven't played for the Clippers, and I would add one ex-teammate, they've all taken Chris Paul's side. And I will acknowledge that it's fair to listen to Blake Griffin when he backs up his former teammate. Because not only did he play alongside Chris Paul and know him with the Clippers, they both played under Ty Lue when he was an assistant coach. Now, as for the other players, that's just idle gossip. When Gilbert Arenas claims that nobody wants to play for the Clippers, that all of a sudden everybody hates Steve Ballmer, it sounds like a thing. But then reality strikes. If your son over at USC got drafted by the Clippers, you know damn well your kid is going to want to sign, my dude. It'd be a hell of a thing for Elijah Arenas to wind up playing at Intuit Arena next season, if he actually could be one and done. Suddenly that Ballmer money looks pretty damn attractive. So no, I don't buy that. And besides, Gilbert Arenas is 43. Carmelo Anthony is 41. They know about as much about the next generation as I do, for Pete's sakes. At least I realize that. I do not have my finger on the pulse of whatever generation this is. Now, having said that, there are stories about Chris Paul that seem to be very decently sourced. The New York Post is reporting that assistant coach Jeff Van Gundy allegedly got into it with Paul days before the point guard was clipped. Van Gundy is the defensive coordinator for the Clippers in layman's terms. The story is claiming that when Paul was on the court, he would change defensive assignments. A recent example was reportedly in Dallas. Paul told Kawhi Leonard to switch off Klay Thompson. There were numerous alleged clashes, which led the scribe to say, quote, I was told that Jeff Van Gundy told Chris Paul, listen, you might have had leeway in other places to be able to change up defensive coverages, but you don't have that leeway here, unquote. Now, with all of this Chris Paul stuff, I am willing to entertain being wrong. I admitted speculating that Paul still had some beef with James Harden because Harden is the guy who sent Paul packing when they were both teammates in Houston. He forced Paul out to Oklahoma City. But I'm not part of the Clippers' inner sanctum. I could be wrong about that. I admit it. At least I'm not some middle-aged guy still with this false belief that I can hang with the 20-year-olds. Gilbert. Let me know, of course, what you think of the comments thread. It's going to be interesting to see if USC football can continue to shed skin annually like a crustacean. And I don't even mean that as an insult. But do you recall the end of last regular season? Between the end of the regular season to the Las Vegas Bowl, more than 20 Trojan players totally abandoned ship for the portal. Well, it's been barely a week since they punked UCLA, and the Trojans have already lost 8 players. Now, one of the losses could really sting. All week long, we've discussed the lack of depth in the linebacking room. And they've lost another, Anthony Beavers, who is pretty damn productive. 49 tackles and a forced fumble. That makes 2 linebackers in the portal. And by the way, Eric Gentry, again, is about to be done with his eligibility. You're going to have to really dig deep to try to find ways to fill those holes. Meanwhile, safety Steve Miller's departure was a fait accompli. He redshirted after 1 game. He just simply didn't want to be in LA. Defensive lineman Carlin Jones had just 4 tackles in 2 years. And let's be real. USC has added a lot to the D-line in the last couple of years. Jones was highly unlikely to get more playing time. Meanwhile, on offense, lineman Micah Banuelos is leaving. He was a fill-in, but he could not secure a regular spot on a line that played a hell of a lot better than I had anticipated. So, again, players leaving USC. Now, having said that, players are also leaving UCLA. Wide receiver Rico Flores is going to the transfer portal. He came into the program with some fanfare. He originally started playing college football at Notre Dame before going to Westwood. And he should have takers. I think if we're going to be honest about his tenure with the Bruins, Flores never got a decent chance to flourish. The Bruins play calling with Tino Sunseri, and before that, Eric Bieniemy, was suspect at best. If you really recall how Eric Bieniemy was running things over with the Bruins last season, they were having trouble with the screen pass. Rico Flores is a wide receiver going, I'm wasting my time learning a receiving tree. You guys can't master a screen pass. And then, of course, after Sunseri gets run, Jerry Neuheisel takes over the play calling, and he's like, we are going to establish the run no matter what. So Flores basically just wasted 2 years of his life. Sucks for you, my dude. Glad you didn't stay at Notre Dame. We mentioned how USC basketball was handed its first loss. Well, there was more bad news. Wing Amarian Hampton is effectively done for the year. He's going to be out 3 to 4 months with a hip injury. For all the talk about Eric Musselman being an offensive mastermind, he brought Hampton in, and Hampton has been critical for the Trojans' defense. Hampton, my apologies. He transferred to USC in the offseason from Robert Morris. He was the Horizon League Defensive Player of the Year last year. And I don't want to sit there and make it that easy, but there's a distinct possibility that without the guy, that's how Washington dropped 84. But you let me know what you think of the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about what you see happening for the Rams and Chargers over the next couple of days. And for that matter, do you believe what you're hearing about Chris Paul? And if you enjoyed this update, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day, even in a snowstorm. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Corte El Queso production. Take care.